just seeing the number of different reviews from people culturally, it's wild. Somebody said that they were two white men walked out of the movie mad. And I was like, good,
They
good,
mad.
what good.
Get them a cape. They could be super mad.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Okay.
Experience Karen Hunter in a completely different way. Karen Hunter is awesome. The podcast.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're gonna love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of the Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed. So I'm like the Center's conversation. So I scheduled a conversation with Pastor Otis, Dr. Reverend Otis Moss III.
Oh, yeah. I've met him a couple times. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So because I wanted to see how he felt about this. I did not know that this man is a filmmaker. He loved the mill. I said, so how do you reconcile with the devil worship, Reverend Moss? You know, this is against God. So we had this conversation. There was a lady that got up in the middle of the damn theater and started like proselytizing during Centers. Ma'am, if I paid for this, especially in the IMAX, she would have thought. I'm just saying. But yeah, I was watching this. But on the heels of the second week, it's the number one again. Beat out The Accountant 2, which had a good showing, and I actually went to see that too. I'll talk about that on Friday. I feel like Sinners ruined me for every other film. Like just ruined. I can't watch.
I don't want to give it away, but that middle scene, you know what I'm talking about? Everybody keeps talking about was like, it was one of those scenes that you want to turn, like you want to tap somebody on the shoulder and like, see this? Can you see this? Like I turned and tapped to my wife. I'm like, look at this. Like, this is fire. I mean, that movie, it was very simple. That's the thing. I love simple movies. Like it's a very simple story. It's not a really complicated story, right? You got good versus evil, right? And I think the like other than middle,
I disagree with you.
You think it's more complicated than good versus evil?
Yeah, it is way more complicated than that.
No, I think at its core, it's a simple story, right? The complexity comes when you start layering other things into it, right? When you layer in like the metaphor of, white people trying to take black people's culture. Like that's a very complicated thing, but it's layered into that good versus evil, or that idea that there like like the son is the good one, right? Even though he doesn't go, he says, I'll be back for church. Like he's saying, I can do both of these things, right? These two things that are actually happening. It's still good versus easy. He's just saying that this is good. So it's a simplicity in the story, but a complexity in the understanding about how things are actually happening in the story.
Okay, I can sit with that. I mean, there was someone that said all stories can be boiled down to like three major, like it's Romeo and Juliet. There's like every story is basically a version of something simple that you're talking about.
I think it was either Socrates or Aristotle who said that the stories can be boiled down into a number of different plot points, right? There's the 20 master plots. There's the three master plots. There's all these different types of stories and plots that you can delve into. And I think this one is actually an adventure story, right? But it has a good and evil because the son, the Sammy, the blues player, goes on an adventure, right? And so he has to that first step, right? When the cousins show up, and it's like you have to cross over the threshold into adventure. This is Joseph Campbell's Hero of the Thousand Faces. Like you have to cross over into adventure. So it's that idea, right? And this is the thing that I think, this is what I talk to my students about. I'm passionate about storytelling shit, Karen. Like this is the thing I tell my students about all the time. Simple stories layered with like metaphor and meaning and symbolism and all these other, cultural contexts. Those are the things that hit harder. Not super complicated stories. I got 500 people and they're all doing this and the world is like this. And like, that's a complicated story, but you take a simple story, right? They're going to go to a party that night. That's a simple story. We're having a party tonight, and this is all about the party. And you add those layers to it, that's when you get brilliance.
Okay. All right. I can rock with that. I actually thought just seeing the number of different reviews from people culturally, it's wild. Somebody said that they were two white men walked out of the movie mad. And I was like, good.
They
good.
mad. Good. Get them a cape. They could be super mad.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Okay. But it's funny. And then I saw, a bunch of people, black folk. This must have gone over my head. I didn't understand it. And then I thought about, Dr. Carr talks about yourself at different stages. And I'm grateful to be this age. So just having a birthday, I wouldn't trade this for my 20s, for my 30s. I wouldn't trade where I am right now because my understanding of things is so much deeper. And then the more you read and study, but not just read, because reading is just words on a page and maybe you get some things, maybe you don't. But to study means that you are actually in conversation and dialogue with folk. Like we're studying sinners in real time. All of us are coming to it with our perspectives. And some people say people are doing too much. No, you're not. You're not, because art is supposed to be experienced that way. And there's supposed to be something awakening in you when you look at art or experience art that is unique to you. And maybe everyone's not going to get the same thing, but, you saying it's a simple story. I hear what you're saying, but I feel like Ryan Coogler is a complicated man, which makes the stories that he tells, which is why he wanted ownership of this, which is why he was going to shop this and have final cut, which is something that people don't like to give up control. He needed control of this story because it's not a simple story, because he's saying something that hopefully for the ages will be indelible. And he didn't want anyone messing with what his message was, I think.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, Karen, I think people misunderstand. I don't think people misunderstand, but I think people don't fully comprehend how stories like this are part of the cultural context, right? When these stories start to happen, they are reflecting ideas that are happening in society, right? Right after Jack Johnson defeats Jack Dempsey, we got Tarzan, right? We got this white man going into the jungle. We got King Kong. Right after Birth of a Nation, we got a rise in the Klan, right? Right after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japanese people started making kaiju movies, giant monsters coming in and destroying the cities. Planet of the Apes during the Civil Rights Movement, right? It's not a coincidence that we can see a direct correlation to all of those disaster movies in the late 90s with black presidents, and 24 being a really popular television show with a black president, and then we get a black president. It's a cultural reflection of what's happening. Like I went and saw Brave New World, Captain America. Is it not metaphorical that the president in that movie turns into a giant red monster and destroys Washington, D.C.? People are tapping into something. And when people tap into that, you feel it, right? You feel it in your soul, right? This is like what a griot is, right? This is somebody who can tap into that. And so Ryan Coogler, even though they pronounce griot wrong in that, but I digress. But when he is a griot in that sense, right? Like he is.
Yes.
Black Panther came out during the first president fuckery, right? And now we got this one, right? And this is where people are sort of like yearning for these types of stories in times when there seems like there's no hope. And Sinners, even though it has a cathartic ending, and it's got that people are complaining about the black trauma, right? But it's also showing the black triumph, right? Like how we survive those things, right?
And I left there ready to fist fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's you bet. If you don't get out my face with this, I promise you, 866-801. You better knock if you buck. 866-801-8255. Shoot, I got ancestors. You better get out my face. Sinners earned 161 million so far worldwide. 161, budget 90 million, made its money back. The film is projected to earn 300 million worldwide. I'm predicting it's exceeding that. It is number one again with 13 million on Friday. 13 million on Friday, opening day of Accountant 2, 9.4 million opening day on the same day. At the end of the weekend, 61 million worldwide. And I want to, this is the first week, 61 million. Variety had, is getting a lot of backlash because it concluded it's a great result from an original R-rated horror film. This was their headline. Yet the Warner Brothers release has a $90 million price tag before global marketing expenses, so profitability remains a ways away. No, 2 weeks, you dummies. That's because you don't understand culture. You don't know. You're following a blueprint that has failed. It is a lie. You're following a lie. And that's why you don't know what the hell is going on. Too many Americans don't know what's going on in this world. You can go ahead if you want to, Traore. There's a lot of things happening. Anyway, so New York Times and Business Insider, all of them had nasty things to say or not nice things to say about Sinners and its potential to win an audience. But what they're not factoring in is how many people are going to see it 2, 3, 4, 5 times at the IMAX theaters, which they're going to have a problem now because it's like these big movies are coming out. You're going to have to make space because Ryan Coogler done gave you why you should see this in IMAX. And people going,
Absolutely.
yes, I have to go back and get shaken and stirred. I'm definitely going to be seeing it in one of these theaters that shake.
I'm going to go back with my daughter. My wife and I went Saturday, but my daughter and I'm going to take her to go see it. My son.
And that's another thing, somebody asked me what age is too young. And I said, it depends on the maturity and the relationship that you have with your child. If you are a parent that has conversations with your child, not as baby goo goo gaga, but you have adult conversations, but not scary conversations, but they need to, experience just as some sexual scenes in there. There's some very, very explicit sexual things happening. Maybe that's too much for a 10-year-old. I don't know. 10-year-olds know stuff. I don't know.
My kids are all adult. My kids are all adults. So
Okay.
my youngest is 23. So we're good.
All right. Okay. Maybe.
Everybody forgets. They look at me and they see me and they see how young I look and they're just like, "Oh, you taking little kids?" No, I'm taking grown
adults. Okay. Well, even at 20, sometimes your 20-something-year-olds may not be mature enough. It depends. And then some of y'all in your 50s not mature enough to see this film because you're not developed enough, and that's okay. You can work on that. That's something. Don't feel left out. If you didn't get it, sit with yourself. That means it's work.
Everything ain't for everybody.
Experience Karen Hunter in a completely different way. Karen Hunter is awesome. The podcast.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're going to love me in Karen Hunter is Awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of The Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is Awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power, a 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed.